Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Starting in the name of Allah, the most merciful and the most beneficent. My name is Muhammad Yaseen and I am with my group members Shaoib, tippu and Syed Muhammad Kashif. Today we are giving presentation of software project management on topic extreme programming and how extreme programming is related to project management. Let's look at the content of this presentation. Well, in first we will be discussing the know-how of what is extreme programming and how extreme programming is related to software project management, and then we will be discussing the pros and cons of the extreme programming. And then we will also be able to answer the question that how extreme programming is different from the other software development lifecycle, and what are the limitations of extreme programming. So let's jump into it. Well, extreme programming is based on agile philosophy, in which the quality is more of a concern, where there is need to have a collaboration between the customer and the development team member in order to increase the customer satisfaction and build up the project in the form of small releases. So this method is deemed to be much more smoother and efficient as compared to other software development lifecycle. Was first implemented on year 1996. Extreme programming is based on iterative development, which may include the project set of features which are developed iteratively and then they are put together in order to form the whole project. So the cycles may are included like short development cycles, which includes both the team members and the customers. And also the project is reviewed throughout the development so that the customer satisfaction is gained. So let's look at the uh, life cycles of the extreme programming. Here we have an initiation state which can be in the form of project charter. Then this project charter is given to the project management who decides, or the development team who decides that what will be the features. They do this by the technique like the word breakdown structure. Then these features are going through this cycle, which includes this planning, designing, coding, testing. So this means that we need to have some way of planning, we need to have some way of designing and executing. So extreme programming provides this way, and that's how the project management is really. So let's look more into extreme programming cycle and the phases of the project management. Initiation phase can be mapped as the stories or the requirement given by the customers, and the planning can be mapped as the release planning. And then we can say that spike and acceptance testing is go through controlling and execution process phases of the project management. And lastly, we have the customer approval, which can be considered as a closing. And at the end, we have the release state. Basically, release date is an increment to the overall project or the part of the project. So through this, we can also understand that we need to have some integration management, which is also included in project management. So that's how we can basically map the uh, phases of the project management within extreme programming lifecycle. Let's look at the example. In this example, I took some phases of the project management and related it with an example of extreme programming. So we can say that in initiation phase, in extreme programming, we did a focus on identifying the business need of the product. And then in the planning stage, we plan on how we will be building the whole project and what will be the iteration of the whole project. And then in the execution state, we work per iteration, we develop the iteration, and then we identify what will be the next feature set. In the controlling phase, we can say that we did some risk management, scope management, we gathered some new changes, and we developed a new iterations. So we also did some risk management and other management stuff in the controlling phase. And lastly, we closed the project with the customer validation. So this can be done per iteration, and this process can also be followed over all the whole project. So now let's look at some values of the extreme programming. Extreme programming provides values like communication, simplicity, feedback, respect, courage. Okay, so which can be mapped with the principle of the project management. So let's say that the team collaboration is mapped with the communication of the. So let's look into the practices in extreme programming. Practices are grouped with the feedback, continual process, code understanding, and word condition. So each group has some practices. For example, tests, driven, pair programming, small releases, coding standard, and for 40 hours. For example, all these practices need some project management areas like we need to have some integration management, we need to have some time management, communication management, and so on. Let's look into the process or the loop of the machine programming. It has some planning like release plan, iteration plan, and then it has a testing, then it has a meeting again, the pair negotiation, then again it has a testing with the pair programming, and then lastly with the code. With, so these these processes in the loops are can focuses on planning, quality, integration, and also the time management. So project management phases like time management are also a part of this process. Let's look into the roles of the extreme programming. We have few roles like customer, developer, tracker, and coach. So extreme programming has to be in a team. So this means we need to have some effective communication between the stakeholders, which is also common in project management. Here we can see the customer has to answer some question that what will be the system and what is the future state. The customer will answer such question and the developer will be analyzing and planning with by communicating with the customers. Moving on, we have a tracker role and a coach role. These roles are the optional roles which requires when some tracking off is observed. When some team is tracked off, then tracker is hired. So this means that we need to have some human resource management over here and also some role management. And then we need a coach for starting or for initiating our team or project. So this means that we need to have some communication medium and also some resource management during our during the roles in extreme programming. So let's look into the power matrix. So the power matrix in extreme programming cannot be constant. It keeps on changing because depending upon the features or the organization structure, it can change. For example, it can go to the function manager side or more towards the project type side, but sometimes upon the balance matrix. So in extreme programming, the power matrix can differ because of the roles or the requirements or the organization structure. So extreme programming, the project in this extreme programming is related to the some management states like risk management, integration management, scope management, time management. All these areas of the project management are also related with the extreme programming. So let's look into or dig down further into these programming areas and how and see how extreme programming is related to project management. Now I will like to call Shoaib Tipu to further continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mohammed Shoaib Tipu, and our topic is extreme programming, in which I am going to discuss the part in which we will see how software project management is related to extreme programming. Basically, as Yaseen has discussed earlier, extreme programming is a agile software development framework, and project management has some factors or links with it. So, first is risk management. and we know that risk can be positive or a negative depending on the outcome of it. Positives are always welcome, but the negatives can be very dangerous for a project. In extreme programming, there is a conclusion about this, is that smaller projects have a high success ratio. So in extreme programming, we decompose all the projects into small pieces or small projects which contain some functionality, which will be received by the user. So the benefit of which is that we can get instant feedback from the customer, which will improve our quality of collaboration also. So each deliverable in extreme programming is delivered in small pieces within 2 to 8 weeks of time period. Small releases will help customer to give feedback, as we discussed earlier, and know the progress, and also they will be able to produce ROI, which is basically the return on investment before the completion of project, because they will be getting some functionality from the developers, and the whole project will be delivered after some time, but they will be getting some benefit from the delivered features or functionality. So each work is done up front. So in other software projects, they take time to plan and organize and all of that, and that will take time, and if the project is cancelled, all the time and efforts will be gone to waste. But in extreme programming, as all the team is working on some functionality, and if the project is cancelled, the functionality will be present and it will be completed, so it can be used in other projects or further on, and they can view it. This will reduce the budgetary risk to some extent in extreme programming. So there is, as the continuous integration take place, so there is no urgency to deliver whole product at one time, as there is no big bang before the delivery. Developers and teams are at ease in integrating with complete system. In extreme programming, we use some cores that Yaseen has discussed earlier, like pair programming and testing and collaborating with the other teams and meetings and other stuffs like that. But testing is in this in extreme programming is always automated, as there is on-site customer, which will help us to identify some cosmetic changes and some other functionality changes on spot, which also complements the communication management in a sense. As there's collective ownership, we have discussed earlier, so there is no issue of losing a technical resource, as chance of losing a technical resource are reduced. So it complements HR management, which is human resource management. In a sense, we will discuss collective ownership in that part also. And pair programming is just like also a collective ownership, or a pair programming is just like working with each other. The developers work with each other to integrate each part, to align some puzzle. So integration management in is continuous concept in extreme programming. There is no concept which teaches continuous integration, but all the cores of extreme programming help integration more possible and suitable. Small releases make integration continuously, unlike other processes that have documentation and all of the stuff at the end of the project, at the end of the schedule, when they is suitable for them. By continuous integration, project will be completed in a decent manner, and all of the tests will help each other find out possible issues at the meeting, and all will and can collaboratively work on that part of the project instantly, to make project smooth, and the problems are identified on daily basis, by using if we are using extreme programming. So the other thing is that scope and time management. This is a very big issue when we are dealing with software projects. That scope and time management is a very big issue. And extreme programming does not teach work breakdown structure, but building a work breakdown structure using extreme programming course is very easy, because story cards which help developers and on-site customers to have a better understanding of scope using those story cards. And we will discuss how what are story cards in other things. So the first is planning game. So story cards are used in that. Each story card tells some functionality that a user or the customer might have in their mind. So each story card will help in scope and time management both. As schedules will be built upon those story cards. As each story card, we can consider that as a functionality in a sense. And schedules will be built, and all the activities will be done by understanding those story cards. And now stories are another way that is linked with planning game. And stories, we have discussed earlier that story is just a functionality or feature of a product will be which will bring some value or meaning to the user, and they help in building schedules and other things. If some story exceeds some time, then it will be divided into two. Each iteration is done in 2 weeks of time period. These stories card can actually act as a work breakdown structure of the system. We can easily say that. Other things that are included in scope and time management: small releases. So small releases will help to small releases, which are small parts of a project, which work and helps customer to get return on investment before the completion of project. And weekly cycles, extreme programming teams plans when features they should which features they should they should deliver by the end of the week. So Friday can be considered as a review day in which all the progress is reviewed. And like story card, if the feature takes time, then it will be divided into or broken down into several cycles, or 2 cycles or more than that, depending on the nature of the feature that is required or functionality required by the customer. So quarterly cycles are basically, like we have discussed, that each part all come together to work as a combined unit. So it is important to see that all the parts that we have built come and fit together easily. So there are quarterly cycles, so that we can check that the software does not end up all over the place. So this is HR management, human resource management. As extreme programming has eliminated the dependency, so eliminating the dependency, all the developers are trained to work in all code bases. So they will help project management. This will help project management not to worry about each developer at the time of the project, as all are trained to work on each skill level. Each developer knows his code, and all of other team members also. So there is collective ownership, which reduces risk also, and is also a human resource management issue. Then when collective ownership is there, then there is an opportunity for developers to grow in areas in which they are weak also, because they can work together. And values of developer product is focused by keeping schedule process lined up easily. If it is difficult to this collective ownership is very difficult, uh, very difficult to build. But the core values of extreme programming makes it easy to reinforce good communication and teamwork. And if there some developer leaves, then there is a win in collective ownership, that all the all the functionality will not lost, because everyone knows every other's code. Sustainable effort is encouraged in XP. Extreme programming, unlike other frameworks which consider developers to work extra hours, reducing their capabilities and effectiveness, hence productivity falls, and quality will also be affected for those projects. So in extreme programming, scope is reduced if extra effort is required to help and motivate the developers. Quality management has been an issue because the developers move from one project to other, and different type of qualities can be required for both projects depending on the nature of the projects. We know that extreme programming is a very disciplined design approach which allows freedom in assigning resources while maintaining high quality. So there's simple design and refactoring which helps. We know that we convert whole project into small pieces, so the code is therefore easy to understand for everyone. And if there is a change or addition of some feature, those will be scheduled and dealt with one by one, which is called refactoring also. After each iteration, quality controls are checked. Hundreds of thousands of tests or quality controls are required as the changes are incremental. And after each increment, we have to see that if both the pieces fit together to each other. So we run hundreds and thousands of tests, and that thousands of tests cannot be run by a single human being. So we consider that to be an automated, and it is prioritized to be automated. As we have discussed that hundred and thousands of tests are needed, so tests are performed in automated way. These automated tests are important in design process, and we require these tests to be written before the code that they will be tested upon. Small portions of our project can help us to see the conformance of each deliverable with the customer requirement. So testing is very important to see if the conformance is there. All dozens of tests per hour are run on each deliverable, or some deliverables combined. As to on each unit, so all the developers come together as collective owners, and this will enhance their ability to perform collectively also. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Syed Muhammad Kashif. My group member Muhammad Shoaib Tipu already explained a lot of stuff about quality management and how extreme programming is related to project management that we have studied in our course throughout the semester. Now, I will be presenting the presentation from this point, and I would be explaining quality management and pair programming, which is an agile technique originated from extreme programming, in which two developers team together to work on a same computer. It is very helpful for knowledge sharing, and it leads to few mistakes as the developers get reviews and feedback from their peers. In this way, it is very helpful in improving and enhancing the code quality. Pair programming is also helpful in facilitating communication within the team. It enhances the communication among the team members. Uh, Partners and team members change frequently throughout the day. It helps in getting fresh perspective from different team members. It also helps the flow of information throughout the team. This is why the teams that use extreme programming environment have better understanding of the project development. They also understand their team members' point of view uh, through their feedback and discussion. Now let's talk about communication management in extreme programming and how it is related to project management. We already know that communication is the core of project management. Project managers spend 80% of their time in communication. We know that clear and accurate communication is essential for the success of project, and if the communication is poor, it can cost us time and money. Extreme programming has several practices that can enhance communication in the team. These practices are stand-up meetings, common workplace, on-site customer, and metaphor. Let's talk about these one by one. The first one is stand-up meeting. The purpose of stand-up meeting is to communicate among the team members, and the stand-up meetings should be done every morning to stay updated about the progress of the project. In this meeting, everyone stand up in the circle. That's why it's called stand-up meeting. Everybody is given chance to talk and is not interrupted. Each party announce the story card they are working on and states their problems. If someone has the solution, they coordinate with each other after the meeting. Most of the time, these meetings is finished in less than 15 minutes, and it enables effective communication among the team members, which is the job of project manager. Now let's talk about the next uh, extreme programming practice for the effective communication, which is common workplace. If you talk about this point, it takes a lot of time to assemble for meetings, and it is there is plenty of wastage of important time. The stand-up meetings in extreme programming increases this problem by a long way, as we have these meetings on daily basis. But the practices of common workplace can solve this problem. It's easy for everyone to assemble for stand-up meeting when they are working in a common workplace. Now let's talk about the next extreme programming practice, which is on-site customer. Extreme programming also recognized that there must be someone available all the time for the software developers to clear their doubts and to answer their questions. This person can be a representative from the users community, and we can call him an on-site customer, which is readily available for the developers if they need any sort of help. The next XP practice is metaphor. Metaphor is a practice which replaces the traditional project architecture and development techniques. The idea is pretty simple. We just name each chunk of the code which is understandable to all stakeholders. The names should be simple, the names should not be complex. Since we name every chunk of code, that's why we called it metaphor. It removes too much complexity from the project. Now let's talk about some advantages and benefits of extreme programming. The main focus of extreme programming is development or coding. It says that you don't need to waste your time on useless activities. You don't need to waste your precious energy on unproductive tasks. In extreme programming, our main focus is on development. That's why uh, it reduces risk of project failure and increases the project quality. It is also helpful in ensuring that the client receives what he desires or what he really wanted to receive. Constant uh, feedback is the beauty of extreme programming. constant feedback from a customer and peers. It helps us to code fearlessly because we can fix the small mistakes through the feedback that we will get. Regular testing, bug detection, and customer validation helps us to deliver the project in less time than expected. In this way, extreme programming enables companies to satisfy their customers and expand their business. Another big benefit of extreme programming is the transparency, due to which everyone is accountable. And now let me share the last benefit of extreme programming. In extreme programming, everyone is equal. Every team member is equal and is supposed to participate equally in the development of the project. This is the most important benefit of extreme programming. Now let me talk about some limitations of extreme programming. Let me state that all projects cannot be developed using extreme programming, especially when the developers are not available on the same geographical location. Developers are on different are on different geographical places. This is the limitation of extreme programming. According to some specialists, extreme programming is totally focused on coding development rather than system design. They think this is the limitation of extreme programming because design is equally important as the development of project. In extreme programming, we don't document defects, which leads to similar bugs in the future. This is also a limitation of extreme programming. Now let's talk about why extreme programming is different from other software development frameworks. Extreme programming central theme revolves around the truth that humans are fallible. Humans can make mistakes, humans can be wrong. Extreme programming welcomes change as it is an iterative process. And the extreme programming is focused completely on customer satisfaction, which makes it valuable software development framework. That's all about today's presentation. I hope we cleared and we explained every aspect of extreme programming. Thank you very much.